First of all, welcome everybody. Hopefully you survived your first kickoff, and hopefully you've been able to sleep over the last couple days. You will hear all returning mentors say at some point, you lose a lot of sleep during this 6 weeks. But what we hope to do over the next 6 weeks for you, between Clint and Brandi, Jason and myself, I'm Kyle Hughes, is give you the opportunity to listen in, get some ideas of what you need to do during the week, and what to start looking forward to next week. Our goal is to help make this simpler for you so you can sleep at night. Do we want to, let's go ahead and start off with the initial tasks. Brandi or Clint, you guys can start off.
Okay, so how we're going to try to speak on these meetings for you guys is first the initial task. If there's only one thing that you have only time to get one thing done this week, this is what you need to be doing as an overall team. Then we're going to go into some team management tasks. So the mentor is in charge of the team management, and then we're going to go into some tasks for the robot mentor. Some of you guys may have met Kyle if you went to the Team Rush rookie camp. Jason, I'm assuming you were there also. And then you may have met Clinton and I when we were at the Team 2337 Dancing Kickoff workshops at Kettering. So one of the things that we talked about when we were at Kettering is creating a strategy for your robot before you start creating a design for your robot. So I don't know if you want to chime in here. So on Team 2337, we use a thing called strategy dictates design. We'll send you guys out a link with information on it. But the whole idea behind this is deciding what you're going to do before you decide how you're going to do it. So hopefully during this week or by the end of this week, you guys can hold a whole team meeting. If you can make it mandatory, that's even better. If you can have every single one of your students attend, that would be great for you. So what you're going to want to start with is talking about the game overall. You're going to want to discuss the rules, review the rules, and talk about the caveats, the rules, and come up with a list of all of the different game pieces and how you're going to interact with them. You don't want to talk about like how you're going to pick it up. Like we're going to create this arm and it's going to have one of these axes and we're going to scoop it up and this cloth thing. You just want to talk about what game pieces are you going to interact with, because the robot that you're going to build to pick up the containers, the large green recycling bins, is going to be a different robot than what's going to pick up the toast or that's going to pick up the pool noodles or the litter. So those are three different designs, but they're also three different strategies. So what you want to do is break down what your robot is going to do into a strategy rather than a design. So the three questions that you really should be asking yourself are, what are the different game pieces that our robot is going to interact with? How are you going, or where are you going to store them? Are you going to store different areas throughout the field that you can store? Where do you think your robot will store? And what do you want to accomplish during the autonomous mode? So those are the three questions that you guys want to ask. And you do have an article that we will send out to you guys at the end of this meeting today, so you can go through all of it.
I got something out of my audio or something trying to recall it. By the way, I'm calling from Team 2337. The other thing to remember is, and this is a critical thing to remember, is that new teams especially might not be able to do every single task that is presented them. First, on purpose, creates a lot of different tasks for people to do. And they don't expect all the teams to do all of the tasks. So, people might have worked the jack of all trades, master of none. You don't want to be that. You want to try to maybe specialize in interacting and working with maybe only one or two, and the or is a big if, of the different game pieces that are out there.
From that, you might then, okay, so let me talk about what 27 does a little bit. We would, on Saturday, we don't have the students leave the school until they know how to play the game. And so for us, rule number one is, do you know the rules? Because even if you know what the pieces are, the scoring, what are the rules? Because maybe the rules might have some information in there that makes it much more difficult to do some of those things first. The kids and the adults, we spent all of Saturday and only Saturday working on the rules. On Sunday, we had a group come in, and then they said, okay, if these are the rules, what do we think we might see people doing and playing the game? And we went through a lot of strategies. We went through stacking bins to, stacking bins with what we call a capper, which is the garbage can and the pool noodles, to maybe teams just putting pool noodles in garbage cans. We had, or canisters, sorry. We went through all sorts of different strategies on what we thought people might do or we might see on the field. But the sky's the limit, and from there, then we look at what our resources are and kind of whittle it down to what are our resources and what will allow us to do what the team, with our resources, what can we possibly pull together. So it's kind of a combination of what they do too. We also, just like Brandi and Clint were talking about, how you do it never comes up the first 48. Actually, today we still are not talking about how. We met yesterday and we met today. After we decide what our team strategy is, at that point then we ask the kids to think of different ways things might happen. So what are ways that you might stack? Go ahead, Clint.
Yeah, and the thing I want to say is the responsibility of the coaches and mentors to try to herd the students, if you will, into not going too deep into how they're going to do it. The teams might say, well, let's make this little claw grabber thing. Well, it's usually going a little bit too far too soon, right? So you need to say, well, that's a great idea. But we're still talking about what strategy we want to do first before we determine how we're going to do that. Right. The how comes once you start prototyping and interacting with the game pieces that you want to use this season.
Right. Absolutely. The big key again is reading and discussing the rules, talking about the clarifications. I kind of jumped down a little bit, Clint and Brandi, because I'm worried about our time. But again, and this is a very big point right here we have, is examine your resources. If you are a single mentor with a group of kids, don't try to do it all. Pick something that your team can be successful in doing and then make sure that you can do it. And that might mean pick one task or maybe two tasks, but not two separate, different, complete functionalities of your robot. Maybe two tasks can be done combined by one piece of the robot. So look at how you might be able to gather motions or gather, tasks into one piece of the robot, is I guess what I'm trying to say. For instance, our students were talking the other day about pool noodles on the field, and a mentor asked the students, do we have to have an arm with a gripper that's going to pick up those pool noodles? And the discussion was huge, and it got to the point of what do we want to do with the pool noodles on the field if all we want to do is put them into the center part of the field. Let me take that down. So you know what my field pieces are called. Then maybe the robot can just push it into there. Do we have to pick it up, or could we push it? Do you have to pick up a gray tote, or can you push one up onto the ramp? You gotta really look at what kind of motions it might take to do some of those things, and then see if you can combine some motions into one device.
Or strategically, do you want to leave the pool noodles exactly where they are on purpose to give the other team 4 points? We'll probably go into that later, depending on what updates come up.
Jay, anything you want to add?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Anything else, Brandi, that you want to add?
No, I think we're on the same page, Kyle.
All right, cool. Let's go on. Go ahead.
All right, so the next thing on our team list is team management tasks. Before I move on to that, does anyone have any questions about what kind of meetings you should be having with your students to come up with a strategy?
Say that again. Say that again, Brandi. Okay, just questions. Got it.
All right, so the first thing as a team management mentor, the first thing you're going to want to do is set a consistent team meeting schedule. You can select days of the week that you want your team to meet and meet every day of that every week, unless there's a special thing like there's no school or there's something else going on. Our team meets kind of frequently. We meet Monday through Thursday from 6:30 to 9:30. Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and some Sundays, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Which I know for some of you new guys, your eyes are probably popping out of your head right now, and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of time. But you also have to remember that we're a veteran team, and we need a lot more than even some other veterans. Some teams choose to meet right after school until a little bit earlier in the evening. We meet later, starting at 6:30, because our mentors work. Team Rush, would you like to talk about what your meeting schedule is?
Sure. We have two different types of meetings. One is our full team meeting, which meets Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday and Wednesday, we meet from, the students have mandatory study time from 3 to 4:30 until the mentors can get here. And then we meet from 4:30 to 8. We do have dinner provided because the parents have organized and provided dinner for our team. On Friday, they meet from 4 to 6:30, and then we actually have something called advanced build. Now, what advanced build is on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday nights, and Saturdays. The advanced build is a smaller group of students. They have to sign up to attend, and they meet. It's more one-on-one with the mentor. So we have 32 students, and that's a lot of students to be working on the robot all at one time. So we break it out into smaller groups, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but on advanced build, there's only 1 to 2 kids per sub-team that can attend advanced build, so it's about a half a team. Jason and Brandi just put our calendar in the notes, so you can look at both team calendars and get an idea of what it looks like. And I also want to highlight, Brandi put down how you can get started on a Google Calendar. It's a great way for communication for your team. Make sure that if you do anything, create an online calendar or a Twitter account or something so you can communicate with these students. When you have a snow day, all crisis will hit. So you have to be able to communicate with them and do it in a way that they know how to do it. If you say, oh, well, I'll send you email, they're never going to get it because they don't check. So, make sure that you have some of those things. And also the Remind 101, it's no longer 101. Remind is also another great way. The text messaging service is a one-way texting. And again, just check to make sure that your kids don't have limited texting or that becomes a problem with your parents. But that's a great way to get information out to them. So once you get your schedule, put it on Google Calendar and so everyone can see what it is. And again, there are a couple of examples there for you. You want to take it, Brandi?
Yep, so the next item that's on the list is ensure that every team member, so students and mentors, and parents, knows your team number. Once you get to competition, this is how everyone will reference you. You will be known maybe a little bit by your team name, even probably less so by which school you are with. You will be known by your team number. This is what will go on. It should go on your team uniforms. It will go on your robot. When there are match schedules, this is how you will be known. So make sure this is something that everyone on your team knows, even if they have to write it on their hands. That was a trick somebody did at our workshop. They wrote it on their hands so they could learn it.
Yeah, and you.
The next thing you probably. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was going to make it funny. You guys are all 4 digits, so it's a lot harder to remember. But I'm so old, ours is only a 2 and a 7, so it's a little easier to remember. But we will recognize you when you call in each week as soon as you tell us your number. And I'd actually prefer you start with your number and then your name because we will start recognizing you by your number first.
And you get to keep your number year over year, so you might as well go out to the tattoo parlor tonight and get it tattooed on your arm because you're going to have it for the rest of your life.
You go, Jay. These coaches are like, what? Mentors. Again, let's go back to if you're the only mentor on your team. You need some help. Please don't do this by yourself. If you came to our rookie mentor camp, either one of the two, I must have said this 100 times, please don't do it yourself. First thing you need to do is take your students and find out what their parents do, what they can do, where do they work, ask around with the teachers. Once you find out where the parents work, find out if their companies have any resources at all that can help you. What you need first is people. I never really agreed with this originally, but now I totally agree with it. People are the hardest thing to find. Money is a lot easier. So the money thing will always come. The people thing, they come and go. But if you can start asking your parents, first of all, and then other teachers, once you guys get started, maybe you can even, and your chassis is rolling, maybe you could have the chassis roll through a department meeting, or if your teachers do an all-staff meeting, ask if you can have the robot, be driven through an all-staff meeting so that the teachers can see what's going on, and you might pick up some support in the school. I will tell you, after doing this for, this is my 19th year, I've only had 2 teachers that have helped me because they think I'm kind of crazy, but I would love nothing more than to have a few more staff members to be able to help me here at the school. You don't...
Yes, we have one teacher who helps us out part-time on our...
Yeah. And remember, it's not a matter of what you know, it's a matter of who you know.
Absolutely, because even if you mention this to the teachers, maybe their spouses are interested in helping because the teacher coaches another sport and their spouse is sitting at home, waiting for that season to be over. This may be the perfect time. Mentors don't have to be engineers either. You might have a mentor or a parent that can come in and just help you get organized. You know what? They could take these conference calls. They can take all the administration stuff off of your back so you can focus on the robot. Another couple quick things to talk about. Don't put the camera away. Bring it out and start documenting everything you do. As a rookie, this is your only year that you can qualify for the Rookie All-Star and Rookie Inspiration. You need to document everything you do. So get a couple of students, get a parent, get a teacher. If there is a photography class in your building, see if there's a couple kids in the photography class that might be able to come and document or journal. If you have a video program in your building, maybe they can document or journal what you're doing. Maybe they could get some extra credit for it. Also, it's really important that you download the safety manuals, the admin manual. Get a copy of the rules somewhere that you have handy access to it. You don't have to have a laptop. You don't have to look at it on your phone. Just grab a copy of it and then have some of the students start looking through it. Maybe an awards group where they can start looking through it, or if they don't know what to do to get started with the robot. That is my 2 cents on high priority items.
The next couple things that we're going to go about are just things. Sorry, you guys have any questions before we move on, I guess?
Don't hesitate to interrupt us if you have a question, because we can always be stopped.
We also need to remember that people might take a little while to unmute to ask questions.
Yep.
And you can also
ask the question and we just keep talking, just keep interrupting.
You can also use the raise hand button if you're on the WebEx too.
Raise hand.
Yeah.
Jason, you're so awesome. All right.
All right, so the next couple things that we want to talk about are just things that we want to put in the back of your brain for you guys to start thinking about for when you have time. Or maybe you have a special person on your team who might be able to complete these tasks to take it off of your back. But one thing that you always want to make sure of is when you are communicating with other mentors, whether you're leaving a voice message, you're leaving an email, or anything that you're doing, make sure you include your name, your team number, your school, and your role on the team. So if you're a student emailing, make sure you put on the bottom, student team 2337, or lead mentor from team 2337. This is very helpful for whoever you are emailing or contacting to get help from, for them to know who you are and where you're from so they know how to help you properly. The next couple things you want to talk about or think about with your team is your team image. As a rookie team, you guys have the great advantage of you are starting from scratch. So you need to come up with a team name, some team colors, maybe a team logo. Some teams have logos or mascots, some teams don't. And the thing you also want to talk about is the pros and cons of identifying with your school's image. There are lots of teams, for example, our school's mascot is a bobcat. There are lots of teams who are the Robo Bobcats or the Bobcat Robotics or whatever you can do with your school's mascot in some sort of robot team. It's up to you whether or not to do that. Our team name is the Engineers, which has absolutely nothing to do with our school. We chose to take our school's colors and adopt those as our team colors, and that's really about it. So just something for you guys to think about. Rush, I don't know how you want to talk about how you came up with your team name?
Well, it was a long time ago, and I don't want to waste anyone's time, but, you know, a student came up with the acronym. It stands for Respect, Unity, Spirit, and Heart. We were not really attached to a school at the time. We were a group of many, many teams together. So what we've done now is Clarkson Schools kind of brought us in and adopted us, and so all of our colors, everything is with Clarkson, and Clarkson has no problem with us having our own image. But some schools really have a problem with that. So before you finalize your design, you might want to throw it by the principal just to make sure that you're going to continue to get support if you do something that's not with the school district. Sometimes they take that as a point of contention, and they won't support you. So make sure that you check with your administration. I want to talk about breaking down your team real quickly. This is something to think about later, but you have to start thinking about it now. We have mechanical, we have electrical, which includes our electrical programming and pneumatics. They're kind of like a subgroup, all three together. And then we have our team management. This week specifically, once you decide on what your team is going to do, it wouldn't hurt you to break down your team structure so that different subgroups are specifically working on different parts of the robot that you've decided to use. And I'm not going to get too far into that. We'll talk more about it next week. Hopefully you'll be ready, or hopefully you've got it all handled by then. If you have questions about it, please contact us so that we can talk about it, because, you know, we anytime you guys can email any one of us, and we will get back with you as soon as we can with the answers. If I can't answer it, I'll be sending it to Jay and my other mentors. And I know Clint and Brandi are real good on returning questions as well very quickly. There's 2 links in the notes that will get you to how both teams break down their team structure, so you can look at the different sections in the structure of the team. With the team management, there are probably 30 different sub-teams you can have. I got to be honest with you. My team management is me, and I have 2 students, and that's it. So all of the things that go under, you know, the team management happen with 2 students and myself right now. So our team is really focused on robot this year for good reasons. Okay. I think.
And when our team was a rookie, we only have 3 sections. So don't feel like you have to have 50 sections when you're a rookie team. You can keep it as simple as robot and non-robot if you want to.
In some teams with small numbers of kids, they don't. They just have one robot, and it's all of those kids. If you have a lot of kids, it's nice to break them into sub-teams, because then it's a little bit more manageable, and then they're working on a part of the robot instead of 3 kids doing all the work and 10 kids watching, which is what happens. All right, let's go to robot stuff. I'm sure you guys are anxious. Kit of parts. Hopefully you have your kit of parts. Hopefully you went to Clint and Brandi's workshop and have a robot moving. But if you didn't, they have all sorts of very good resources that are out there for you. But the big thing right now is you need to get the kit of parts inventoried, and any replacement parts request needs to be in by January 9th, which is Friday. So make sure that you get through. If you got the kit and you just said, oh, we'll do it this weekend, don't wait till weekend. Get it done as soon as possible so you don't miss the deadline. And first can be really tight about deadlines. I mean, if they say this is the deadline, That's the deadline. So if you say, well, I'm a rookie and I didn't do it, deadline's the deadline. So you're there then without those parts. So please make sure that you go through those. Do you guys want to talk about first choice in case anyone hasn't, Jay or Clint?
Yeah, just a note about first choice, there's some people might have heard, there's 3 different portions of the kit part. One is the actual parts that you received on the day of kickoff, or you picked up, or you had someone pick up for you. That is one part of the kit part. The other is a voucher system. So whoever has, the league member that has the ability to log into the TIMs, there are passwords and coupon codes that you can use at different suppliers, basically online, to order some material and get discounts on those things. The third part of the kit of parts is considered first choice. So if you go to, I think the website is firstchoicebyAndyMark.com. You can go to that website, you get a certain number of points. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but they have different things from controllers to bearings to motors to maybe additional batteries and those kinds of things that you can actually spend the points on and potentially get them. I forget when the deadlines are, but I think right now they're doing some kind of priority where everyone submits which items they want and what priority, and then they will try to do their best to fulfill everyone's priority so that no one gets everything that everyone else wants just because they have to have fast internet connection. So be sure to check out First Choice by AndyMark.com.
I actually put a link in the notes that takes you to the page that has all of the links with all of the dates on it. And so it takes you directly to First website so you can get all of the information that Clint just talked about.
So that due date is for your priority list is the 9th also. So a lot of stuff has to happen by Friday.
Don't be sick on Friday.
Yeah, if you wait too long, a lot of what's going to be left over are going to be items that no one wants or no one can really use. There are some items in there. One of the ones I highly recommend, if you're a new team, you're still trying to get tools, probably one of the best items on there is the Fluke multimeter. Every team can utilize a multimeter to be able to troubleshoot electrical problems on their robots. That's what it's going to go after. But if you wait too long, you're not going to be able to get anything, and you might complain and say, well, we got it late, and all we get is, a bunch of bearings that don't fit the stuff we're using, right? So get in there, set your priorities, and try to fill it out as soon as possible. I know it might be hard because you don't even know what you're building yet. Try to do your best to fix it together.
All right, so your first task this week for the robot items is to start working on your basic moving robot. Add functions later. The first thing you guys should be working on right now is putting together a chassis. And we highly, highly, highly recommend that you all use the AndyMark AM142, which you received in your kit of parts in the long purple box with the AndyMark logo on it. We'll include the directions and a link to the kit of part directions in our notes for you. But your goal should be to have a moving chassis by the end of this weekend. So in order to achieve that,
Sorry, Brandi, I was going to make you comment. The AM14U2 is a great option for kit apart chassis, and everyone should use it. Now, however, just because the kit apart chassis comes with 4-inch wheels does not mean you have to use 4-inch wheels. You can use different diameter wheels or different style wheels. So I think teams should really start investigating what the bump, how their robot might interact with the bump. The AM14U2 can go over the scoring platforms. However, there might be different approach angles that might cause the AM14U2 to maybe get hung up or high center. So have your students start, investigating, maybe build a mock-up of the scoring platform or, that field element, and start pushing or driving your robot over that to see what angles and what locations your robot might get hung up. Because if it can happen, it probably will happen. You can probably go to AndyMark.com to to get information about alternatives, maybe wheel sizes that you can use on AM14U. And another option is to take a look at buildblitz.com. Bill Blitz from Pro, they're doing a really good job of investigating and looking at the subtle details of this year's game and some of the design problems that teams might run into, and try to make it aware to people that these design problems exist and they need to be addressed.
And I want to back up just a second, because we're talking about a moving chassis. You guys have everything in your kit. If you need help, don't forget to ask us. But if you were at one of the mentor camps, we talked a lot about building goals and setting goals. And Team Rush's goal number 1 is the robot must move. If we can achieve that goal, then everyone is excited because we've at least hit the first benchmark. And so when you get that chassis moving, I am telling you, a different dynamic of your team will occur. Everybody will have hope. They'll have faith in the program. They'll be excited. The kids will squeal. Big boys will squeal like little girls. And it's just a really awesome thing. So do the best you can to get that robot moving. If you can't, let us know. We do have one of our programmers was talking about doing office hours for teams that need it. So as soon as we get that pulled together, we'll let you know when that's going to happen too.
Please don't take my comments as you shouldn't go forward and build your chassis because you don't have different size wheels. My opinion is build the current Kitified chassis as is, but start doing it's a great opportunity to get the students involved, start doing some testing. I'm a firm believer in continuous improvement, because if you're continuously improving, you're doing what everyone else is doing. If you're not, you're falling behind, okay? So just because, like I say, be aware that the forged wheels might not be the most ideal wheel size, still build it, do some testing, collect some data.
So the next step beyond actually building the chassis that comes in that purple and blue box is to begin wiring your electrical components. So we're going to include some links for you in there on the new control system, which is new for 2015. It doesn't really impact you guys because it's the only one you've ever known. But it will show you how to wire the stuff up and exactly what you need. It can be as simple as you getting a piece of plywood and just tying it to the plywood. You could get some aluminum and drill holes. You can do it however you do it that you have resources to do. Just bear in mind that you do have a weight limit for your robot, so if this is something that you're going to mount on it permanently, take that into consideration when you are choosing your material.
And also know when you're doing some testing with your drivetrain, note that a 20 to 30 pound robot acts differently than a fully weighted 120 pound robot that you'll be using in competition. So, and be aware that running on carpet is different than running on, say, a cafeteria tile floor.
Look at the utility letter is.
So be aware of those issues.
Jay, anything you want to say about the control system as well?
No, I haven't looked at the formal documentation. We were one of the beta test teams, so we did a lot of work with the beta test documentation. So it's good documentation. Be sure to follow it as close to the T as you can to make sure you successfully image your new Robo Rio. But they've done a good job of putting the resources out there and showing you how to wire it and showing you the different components and kind of stepping you through how to get the control system off the ground.
Is your conference still out there on YouTube?
Yeah, I'll post that, but I guess I'm not sure. It's more of a comparison, but I'll put it up there anyways.
Okay. All right. Programming. So the first thing you do is you get the body of the chassis built, the kit chassis. Then you need to wire it, and the last thing is to program it. And again, Jason's put some documents that we have out there. There's also programming support. I have to tell you, as a teacher, but as a coach for the past 18 years, you don't have to know everything about programming to do this. And in fact, you don't have to know anything about programming. If you let the kids, you unleash the kids and let them do this, they can get you a programmed robot. Now, if you can get help, that's wonderful, because what students don't understand is the discipline involved in programming. You know, did you back up the file? Did you name it appropriately? You know, when you find out that they named it Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then they don't remember which one was which, then you realize you need an adult that can help monitor your programmers. I think that the biggest frustration we've had over years is the naming of the programs, but also understanding what the name was and which version that was. So they actually now keep a Google file, and they document what the new name is of the new file and what changes were made. So it's just it's an edited version of each edition of the program. Clint, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can, the first thing to do before diving into too much programming and your programmers or whoever's going to be doing that on your team will try to do is the first time, just load the default code. Load the default code. Don't try to get in there and start tweaking settings and stuff like that. Just load the default code to make sure that you see everything operational and moving so that you can get that excitement and get the team going, right? As you grow and as you go on, you want to make subtle changes, but make sure you always have something to go back to that is known good and known working. Be very careful about letting your students deploy new code without testing it before putting it on the field.
And we're going into some things that we don't have notes on for this week, but because our rookies are so advanced, it seems, I want to mention safety needs to be of paramount importance. When you decide to download code and test it, make sure that the robot is up on blocks or something so that it doesn't take off. Make sure that there is a clear all or a download or a, you know, robot active call out. It's really important. I've seen adults get knocked out cold because a robot went on and didn't do what it was supposed to and knocked an adult down on the ground out cold. So just be very careful when you finally do put the code in. My suggestion is test one piece at a time, test one motor at a time, but more importantly, make sure that safety is there and you're ready to hit that stop button so that no one will get hurt.
If you came to our kit of parts chassis workshop, we did provide what we call them dynamite sticks because they actually look like dynamite sticks. But basically what they are robot jack stands that will pop your robot up in the air to be able to run the wheels without it touching the ground or the table. The last thing you want to do is enable that robot on a table and have some student not paying attention or even a mentor not paying attention if someone leans on that controller and there goes the robot flying off a 3-foot tall table.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Okay, so we're flying through this, you guys, because there's so much to tell you. Safety is so important, though. Next thing I want to talk about is downloading the competition manual and the team updates. Make sure that Clint, what day do the updates come out?
I think Tuesdays and Fridays. I have not looked to see if a new update has come out today, though.
Okay, all right. So teams, it's important.
I'm on a computer.
Okay, it's important for teams to have someone that's looking. So make sure that you are looking for the updates on Tuesdays and Fridays because the rules may change. And if you are in isolation and you're not checking this, then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you've designed something that's not going to play the game, and that's a bad thing. Anything you want to add to that, Clint, Brandi, Jason?
I'll say that, I'll say that you do need to try to keep it high on the updates. But we will do our best to watch out for the updates and try to let you know of very pivotal kind of game changer updates that might be coming out. However, you can't blame us if an update came out and you didn't watch it yourself. Like I said, we'll do our best to let you guys know when these updates come out. That might change the way your strategy might be for the game. But you do, and it's a great way to get a student involved, right? Have one student, their job every Tuesday and every Friday is to update the team and let everyone on the team know what the new updates and what the new rule clarifications are for that Tuesday and that Friday.
Again, if there's ever any questions, unmute your phone and just butt in, and we will stop and do what you need. Something to think about is building some field components. And this is, I would not say is a crisis moment to do right now, but maybe you can get some parents to help you or do this for you. I think personally, and I'm pretty sure Clint's going to agree with me on this, but I think personally as a drive coach, the sooner my kids get on the field and see these components, the sooner they understand the game better. For instance, taking a canister and putting it up to the, pool noodle chute, we've already been able to look at how it might work, how well might it work. We're trying to see how it wouldn't work. And we use the wooden, what we call the poor man's version of the field. It's worth finding out, first of all, if you can get some of those field components built, but otherwise, find out if there's a team nearby, maybe a mentor, an advanced, what am I talking about? A veteran team. Thank you, that's the word. A veteran team that might have a field. Now, Clint and Brandi, do you guys have a full field again this year?
We only need to have a field anyway.
I know.
So.
Well, I can't. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is that we'll have the field elements available at our facility for teams to use. But one thing I do want to touch on, yes, the four-man field elements are great, but there is, in my opinion, the scoring platform. If you can have the funds to build the real thing, build the real thing, because the way your robot is going to interact with the real field elements for that scoring platform compared to the wood versions, it's going to be totally different. And you're going to get the competition, and you're not going to realize that maybe it's slipperier than the plywood or something like that. So if there was one element that I would say build a real thing, it would be the scoring platform.
I totally agree. We build
We won't even be building the four-man version of that. Not to say it like that, but it's so not what you're going to see in the real work on the field, right?
Right.
Now the pool noodle hole, feeder, whatever, that's probably going to be pretty close. The toad chute might actually go a little bit faster on the real field than the wood version, but that's hard to tell right now at the time.
We do build it only because we want one set here at the shop, and then we are actually going to be trying to build a field in an old barn this year, and our hopes are that we're going to have more real components in the barn, so when we drive, we will have a better view of what's going on, really. I think at this point we want to ask if there's any questions, but before we do that, I have been waiting for this all day. I want Clint's commentary on the game this year and his thoughts and his advice to rookies. Go ahead, Clint. Come on.
I was muted there. Hold on. I was coming in the door. Okay. You put me on the spot here for this one. I always have an opinion, right? That's why you knew I would say something, right?
This is what I look forward to every year. I can't wait to get the Clint commentary.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of this game. I'll be honest with people. I'm not a huge fan of the game because I like the interaction of the two robots in there. But we don't have that this year. So the one thing that all the teams need to understand is maybe some stuff that people have talked about in the off season and prepping you for this. Talking about how you got to make sure you have a solid drivetrain that can push people around and stuff like that. Those ideas and concepts might be out the window. The other thing is that this year, the robot size limitation is much different, right? You can be in any configuration as long as you can transport it to the field, right? So what teams are going to have to think about is having ability to pull a pin and remove an item, and maybe right when they sit on the field, they put the item on, put the pin in, and run the rest of the match. So from what teams should take a look at in terms of what they should do, I think there's two good things to focus on. One of them is do not ignore the cooperation at the center of the field. This year, the way you're ranked in the tournament is based on your average score. 40 points that you can get from the cooperation step, if you will, is a huge amount of points. So don't ignore that. When you go to competition, a lot of teams are going to want to do that, right? So looking at that center field, being able to maybe just take one toe and be able to set it on the step, that is an extremely valuable asset, right? Because most teams, if you didn't go into a match and there's only one robot on each side that can only set one toe on the step, throughout the whole match, you each set one on there and hopefully get 20 points, right? But if on the other alliance, no one else can do that, you cannot achieve those cooperation points, right? So don't ignore that. Also with the containers, I feel that containers are going to be a very sought after role. However, if you don't build it correctly, and you might be sitting out of elimination if it's not done right. It'll be sought after, but you have to make sure you execute it correctly. I don't know if I'm going into too much detail with that kind of stuff, or if it seems too overview. But looking at the ability to just stack totes or manipulate the container, I think are two good options if you focus on one of those two.
I think that's
And there's more meta game stuff that I'll talk about later, but honestly, I really want to wait until updates might come out.
The fluid. Yeah, well, if you turn your canister, you might lose your noodle. So that came up today in one of our meetings, which made me laugh. There's all sorts of, trash talking going on.
You know the other one I'm talking about, right?
Probably. I don't know.
Okay. I'll go into it now if you want me to, but I just don't know if the rules will change and what, you know what I mean?
Go ahead, Clint. I'm dying to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so the question we ask everyone is how much does cooperation count for? Count for potentially a maximum of 40 points in the middle. What you have to do to achieve that is you have to stack 4 toes high on the step to achieve that. If you look at, is there another way for the two opposing alliances to cooperate together to be able to get a similar amount of points?
Drop your noodle.
The next question you ask yourself is, how many full noodles are there on the side? The answer is 10. If you were to put a full noodle on your side, not in the landfill, how much would you give to the other side? The answer to that is 4. So if you have 4 times 10, you would have 40 points. So if both alliances, even though they're playing at the same time, but they're not really going against each other, and they shake hands and say, listen, I'm going to throw my 10 poodles over the wall, and let it sit on the floor for the remaining time of the game, I'll give you 40 points. However, you have to do the same for me. So both of us get 40 points for a human player just to be able to pick up 10 noodles and toss it over a 6-foot-tall wall. It's way easier than building a robot to stack toes. That's the tool section.
Can I ask a question?
I knew you were going there. I think that's wonderful. I love it. This is what's so important. The rookies don't realize, Clint, how you work, and it's wonderful. I want to say that for those of you on the line, Clint has been doing this for a while too, and he's very, very verbal about the games, but you get so much information from him when you get the Clint commentary. Love it. At this point,
I'm sorry, and I'm opinionated too.
That's okay. I think it's wonderful. At this point, let's open it up for questions. Jade, you got a question?
So, Brandi, you had your hand up. Were you just touching the hand up button, or do you have a question?
I had a question.
Who is speaking, sorry?
Eric Nelson.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah. So we're reading through the rules, and we can't find where it says, and I'm hoping it doesn't say it. If we bring the green recycling container over to the corner where the noodle dispenser is it legal to human dispense a noodle into the recycling container?
Okay. So I don't know if everyone heard that question. I'll repeat it real quick. So the question is, can you bring the container over to the human player noodle load area and have the human player drop the noodle into the container? There's no rules that we've seen so far that go against that. Actually, a couple of the Robot in 3 Days videos, which I should probably put a link to that in there. They have videos showing basically where to line up your container relative to the wall to be able to thread a pool noodle right into your can.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I agree with that statement. I don't think there's any rule preventing you from using the human player to put the pool noodle in the container. It's actually probably an easier skill for a human to do than a robot.
That's what we were thinking.
Rodney, do you have your hand up? Is Rodney still on the line? Oh, I got him muted, sorry. Go ahead, Rodney.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry, I had you muted by mistake. Try again. Rodney, do you still have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, all right, great. Well, here, my question was in regards to the notes and everything that you have here, and is this being recorded so that I can play it back for my team?
Yes. So this WebEx is being recorded, so you'll see my desktop view. Also, we'll be sending out the rookie conference call notes. The WebEx may take me a day or so to get up. It doesn't record and be available for. It's not available immediately after the meeting.
Okay.
So it may be by the middle of the week that we'll have the WebEx up, but the notes should be up probably within the next day.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. Because this was just so much information. There's no way I'm going to remember any of this.
Yeah, it is a lot of information.
All right.
The links that you're going to get to it will all be live, so you can just go right from, as you read through it, just go right through it and click and link. And our goal, again, is to help you guys so you can get some sleep over the next 6 weeks.
All right, I appreciate it.
Questions? Rodney, what team are you from?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm from 5664, Muskegon.
Okay, 5664 Muskegon. All right. Any other questions? If there are no more questions, Clint, Brandi, any last words you want to make at 7 o'clock?
I just want to point out to rookie teams that each week this call is not the same. Each week we will be updating what tasks you should be working on for that week, so it is beneficial to keep calling in every single week. There's a lot of rookie teams who at the end of their season say that they learned a lot from coming to these calls, and the more often you attend, the more that you will learn, the more opportunities you will have to ask questions instead of staying at your facility in the dark.
Jay, you said this.
And typically, I've seen a correlation between success and the amount of time that teams are on phone calls.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so it looks like Isaiah Otten Rudyard on the WebEx. You had your hand up?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep.
I was wondering what the track record in the past has been for changing rules. Is there a certain guideline about, like, if it's against the feeling of the game that they'll change rules, or how is it that they change rules? Like the noodles dropping into the player chute?
So how often do the rules change?
Or be clarified, I guess.
So probably the first week or two after so they open up question and answers tomorrow. We'll probably see most of the rule clarifications by the end of week 2, most of the major ones.
The only reason they would make any changes after that is if something really big occurred that they did not think through that will completely change the outcome of the game. I've done this long enough that we've been at a tournament and through the season a rule had changed, and that was pretty horrific, but they try not to do that because of the feedback they will get and the number of people that will quit doing this if they keep doing it. So, go ahead.
So they try not to to change it more often. However, there are times. But also, in the flip side, they had actually changed the rules, after Bill's week 0. So they usually have tournaments on week 0 to see how the game plays out. And I think it was in 2013, they actually made a rule change that changed when you could throw things onto the field, and that actually happened after Bill. So anything in games, they really try not to. However, you have to be aware things might change. If you have an idea or a concept for a robot, and you're thinking, I'm not going to say anything to anybody, I'm not going to ask the question, right? Because I don't want anybody to find out my secrets, because it's the best idea since sliced bread. You have to run that risk of not answering that question and having first change their mind, like Steve, and say, no, that strategy is not allowed. That is not the intention of this game. We're changing the rules to make that illegal now. So it's up to you whether you ask the questions in the Q&A, but understand by not asking the question, you might run the risk of having it eventually be illegal.
And that's why it's important too for you guys to talk to us, because if you have questions or want clarifications, you know, you've got 4 veterans here that really know the game and know the intent of the rules of the game. So you throw it by us, if we all start laughing at you and say, whoa, 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 then you know that you might be in for something, in for a change. But if, you know, we look at you, we may just say, yes, no, maybe, you know, that's risky, it's worth asking the question. We can be your first round of security, I guess you could say. Any other questions? You know, Jay?
Nope, I don't think so. Everyone's hands are down and.
Okay, if you did not sign in at the beginning with Brandi, please do before you hang up, so that we can keep record and let Gail know which teams we're on. But otherwise, I'm signing out. Anyone else? Brandi, Clint, Jay?
Good. Thank you all for attending.
I was just saying, just a reminder for next week, if you sign into the webinar, sign in with your team number in your name. So I think your name is Brandi 2337. Helps us with the attendance.
Oh. Did you say team number then name, or team name then number? Or number then what? So number then name, right, Brandi?
Yeah. Number then name would be best. That's
what you wanted, right? Number then name. So we can list them by number? Okay. Sorry. I don't know if we lost Brandi there.
All right. Was there anyone else who didn't log on? Or didn't sign up?
Yep. Roger, 5709.
5709.
So was there anybody else that didn't sign in?
Rudyard, not Roger.
Rudyard, sorry.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
All
Awesome.
right. Well, I guess that's it for tonight. We hope you guys will all join us next week. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Good luck.
Yeah.